parking for veterans. It's a proposal before the City Council with a public hearing later this month. Western Mass News reporter Taylor Smith getting answers on how this could benefit local vets.
Military veterans may soon be able to park in Springfield without having to pay the meter.
I think anything for veterans is a wonderful thing.
The proposal currently before the Springfield City Council is gaining attention, and veterans like Mike Borecki are thankful.
Veterans are the backbone of the United States of America. Whether you're an advocate for the military or not, they've protected unconditionally over and over and over again, and they're still doing it today.
Western Mass News spoke to City Councilor and longtime veterans advocate Kateri Walsh, who shares with us why this small token of appreciation should be implemented.
Well, I think it's very important that as a country and as a city, and of course Massachusetts has a wonderful record of supporting veterans, that we recognize the service and the dedication of the people.
While some in the community may raise concerns about the loss of revenue to the city, Walsh tends to think otherwise.
Well, if it does, the sacrifice and dedications of the veterans will offset it.
And while she doesn't anticipate any problems with the proposal passing, it is important to note there will be a few requirements for veterans to participate, like obtaining a special veterans license plate from the Registry of Motor Vehicles, requiring the veterans to be driving the vehicles for the parking to be free. The Springfield City Council is holding a public hearing on this proposal on August 19th at 7 p.m. right at City Hall. And I'm Taylor Smith reporting for Western Mass News.